Microsoft Purview, sensitive information types, exact data match, trainable classifiers. What are these all about? We're going to find out in this video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned, it's coming right up. So here we are once again in our MS 102 exam guide, and we're into our final large section, which is manage compliance by using Microsoft Purview. This is going to count for 15 to 20% of the overall exam grading. Microsoft Purview, a term that's been around for a couple of years now, which is an umbrella term to encompass all things compliance within Microsoft 365, although there is a lot of bleed in between the principles of security, compliance, and identity, as we will find out. So there's two subsections in this section. We have implement Microsoft Purview information protection and data lifecycle management, and then the final one is implement Purview data loss prevention. We will tackle these individually and break these down into probably 2 or 3 videos, and on this one we're going to start on implementing and managing sensitive info types by using keywords, keyword lists, or regular expressions. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we start by going into the Microsoft Purview Admin Center, which you can reach by navigating in your browser to compliance.microsoft.com. And it's going to take you to this home page here, where you get some overview cards of the features that you can implement, some of the additional add-ons that Microsoft would very much like you to buy. So you can turn on some additional features here, like adaptive protection and insider risk management, depending on the level of licensing that you've got. But this is your sort of starter page or your executive summary view, if you like. To get to this admin center, you need to be an administrator, as always, of some flavor. I am logged in as a global admin at the moment. Compliance administrator is probably the more appropriate role to access this area, and I would be remiss if I did not mention privileged information management, which is something we'll probably, in fact, definitely will touch on in this last large section of videos that we're doing around compliance, privileged information management, or PIM, to grant just-in-time access to those privileged roles. But what do we want to talk about in this first section on Purview? It's all about sensitive information types that can be used with the features within Microsoft Purview. And this relates to data classification, which is one of the first sections on the left-hand panel of the Purview Admin Center. If we expand data classification, we can go into our overview page. Again, we get a summary view. We get some snapshots of how sensitive information and labels, which is something that we will talk about in the upcoming videos, are being used across your organization's locations. And it reports on things like trainable classifiers, which we will talk about, sensitive information types, which is the big topic of today's video, what they are, where they're applied, retention labels, and so on and so forth. We can look at the classifiers themselves, and this is where we're going to be spending the bulk of our time in today's video. If we go into the classifiers page, it loads up, and there are 3 tabs in here. We have trainable classifiers, we have sensitive information types, and we have EDM classifiers as well. EDM standing for exact data match classifiers. We will start with the basics. Not that there's anything basic about it, but really, for me, sensitive info types should be the first item on this menu because it is the logical starting point. So let's go into sensitive info types, or SITs, as they are commonly known. And here we can see the sensitive information types that are baked in to Microsoft 365. Let's just collapse that side panel, as you know I love to get more screen space. And these are available to use within your security and compliance policies, and they can be used in things like predominantly DLP, which is data loss prevention, and sensitivity labels can use them as well. And these include a large collection of types provided by Microsoft which span regions around the globe, as well as any custom types that you can create yourself. So we can see there are different types of sensitive information types as well. Based on the type column here, we have entity, we have credential, bundled credentials, and so on and so forth. And you can sort them by that as you need to. And you can see who has published these as well, whether they are from Microsoft or whether they are a custom sensitive information type. You can easily sort through these by using the search field. So if I want to search for sensitive information types that relate to the UK, I will just type in u.k. and hit enter, and we can see all of the ones that are unique to the United Kingdom. So we have things like UK driver's license number, electoral roll numbers, national health service numbers, and so on and so forth. And you can click onto these and get more information about what they are. And we're taken into the overview screen here where we can see some recommendations for the sensitive information type. We have the option to provide some feedback to improve the accuracy that we can share with Microsoft. We can see some feedback results there as well. On the right hand side here, we can see some details about what the SIT actually does. We have a description, which this detects a UK national insurance number. We have its confidence level, which is medium. This one was created by Microsoft, and we can see the patterns and elements that are included in the sensitive information type, which details how this will work in conjunction with the features of Microsoft Purview. So we've got things like primary elements, function processors included there. Character proximity, it will detect matches of these sensitive information types and any supporting elements that you create in your SITs within a certain amount of characters. This is going to help to improve the accuracy of your matched items, and so on and so forth. So nice and simple, very, very simple indeed. If you want to create your own, you can do as well, and you can copy an existing one to base your template on that you are going to create, which is a really nice feature. You cannot edit a Microsoft baked in sensitive information types. That's why that is grayed out, and nor can you delete them. You can, however, test the sensitive information type. So this is a really good feature. You can test that this is working by uploading a file that you know that either does or does not contain matching content, and see what happens as a result of that. So we may or may not do that as we go through the video, just to illustrate what that looks like, but that's a really neat feature that you should definitely take advantage of. There is a matched items tab here, and you can see any matches that you have would be recorded here. We don't have any at the moment, but we'll see if we can generate some along the way throughout this video. So let's go back to our sensitive information types, and let's actually go ahead and create one, because there are a number of, there are 314 items in here. So the chances are by type or by region or whatnot, you're going to have a good chance of having one that is going to do what you need. But there are going to be instances where you need to create your own. And you do so by clicking on Create Sensitive Information Type. And it takes you into the wizard where you are going to enter a name and description for your new SIT. And for lack of inventive thought here, we will call it Peter SIT. And we'll just repeat that. But you would obviously give this a very descriptive name for what your sensitive information type is going to be. An example of a custom sensitive information type could be, let's see, you might have something like an employee number or something like that, or some sort of asset of an organization that you would put into here. So, but put the name and a good description in so everyone's going to know what the sit is and when it should be used, and click on to next. And next we have to define patterns for this sensitive information type to define them, and each must contain a primary element and a confidence level. So you can click on to learn more about defining patterns, which let's have that as a useful link that we will include in the video for you. You know how much I love learn.microsoft.com, but you can create your pattern by clicking on create pattern here, or you can select create one now underneath this lovely red warning that tells us that we don't have one. It's going to do the same thing. And we are into our new pattern creation wizard. And you can see here the first thing that we have to do is to set a confidence level for the sensitive information type. If we hover over the information circle here, it's going to tell us exactly what this means. And this will reflect the confidence of the match, which typically will increase when supporting elements that you add are detected along with the primary element. The more supporting elements that you specify, the higher the confidence level you should select to ensure that matched items contain the sensitive info that you are looking for. As an example, matches with a high confidence level will contain more supporting elements in proximity of the primary element, whereas matches with a low confidence level would contain little to no supporting elements in close proximity. So that's a really good guide from which to start. So if we were going to select a high confidence level, we should certainly be looking to add some supporting elements in there. But we click on the drop down here, we can have high or medium or low. So let's, for this example, select a medium confidence level. Next is the primary element that we need to include. Again, let's click onto the information circle to tell us what it's all about. And this is the main information that you want to detect within the content. You can define the primary element using a number of means. You can use a regular expression, or more commonly known as a regex. You can use a keyword list, a keyword dictionary, or you can use functions. And which one you use will be determined by your individual needs or potentially your level of confidence using these particular technologies. Not everybody is regex friendly, but as you'll see in a moment, it's getting a lot easier to use all of these element types because Microsoft have provided a lot of guidance as you go through this wizard, which is excellent. So let's take a little look at the primary elements, and we can see here the four that we just mentioned. They clearly want you to use regular expressions because that's at the top of the list. And to be honest, that is probably going to get you the best results. I would think if you can use regexes, then these are going to be possibly the best option for you. So let's take a look one by one at these options. So regular expressions to begin with, or regexes. These are strings of text that create patterns to help identify and match the information that you are looking for. Regex strings can be formatted in many ways. For example, \d curly brackets 6 close curly brackets identifies a 6-digit number in content. Let's right click on this handy link here so you can learn even more about supported regex patterns. Now in here we have to add an ID for our regex. We have to add in our regular expression pattern, choose between a word match or a string match, and then add regular expression validators. So let's, before we do that, in fact, before we do that even, let's just take a look at some of the information circles within here. So under ID, it's telling us that if you change the ID of an existing regular expression, a new regular expression with this ID will be created. It doesn't update the one you selected, so that's a bit of key information. Then we have regular expression here. If we click on the info, it's letting us know, and this is a very good point actually, and I will include this in the links, is that there is a third-party tool that is useful for validating and testing your regex patterns. And it's this website here, this regex101.com. Cool stuff. Under string match, we are getting a lot of information here that word and string match, in fact, that's not just string match, it's word match and string match this is referring to, will allow you to control if the entity should be available as a standalone entry or can it be a substring as well. Choosing word match appends some detail non-capturing groups to the regex, which a lot of detail in there, before and after the regex, defined in the regex field to ensure the entity is detected as a standalone word, and selecting string match if you want to define your own regex. So cool stuff. And then finally, regular expression validators. These are functions used to perform additional validations on the regex pattern. For example, checksum functions like lun check. And we can learn more about the validators there. So we'll pick that as well. And we'll add that in for you as a additional piece of learning. Okay, so what I certainly find the easiest here, if I'm setting these up with regular expressions, is to choose from the existing regular expressions, because I am by no means a regex person. I can find my way around them just about, but I am by no means an expert. So I would choose to select from existing regular expressions. And you can see there's a lot that we can choose from here. We can choose from 389 items, and we've got things like password, placeholders, we've got all sorts of stuff in here. So you can search through these as well, and I wonder if we can search by region. So here we go. What we've got here is regex UK electoral information, or UK or EU mobile number, or EU tax file number. So Microsoft have given you a load of regex values in here that you can select from a template, which is massively helpful to people who are not regex friendly. And when we add that in, you can see here that we've got that ID created for us. It's going to put that in automatically. Here's the regular expression, and it's a bunch of characters, and you can see there it's got the +44 in there for the country code for the UK mobile, and it's put it in as a word match. And there we go. So it does all the hard work for you. If you need to go deeper than the baked in ones, though, you'll have a bit of work to do to get them the way you want, and use that regex 101 website to test them and validate them. We can add validators here, so we can search for validators from your built-in and custom sensitive information types. And here we can learn what each of the functions detect. So we could add in a validator such as date, for example. So we could add that in. And there we can choose our date format. We can set that to what we want it to do. And we can put a starting digit offset value in there. But we can't do that here. The reason being, and the reason this is grayed out, and the little warning that we've got here at the top, is that this is an out-of-the-box regular expression. And if we wanted to customize this and change this to do this validation, we would have to change the ID to the regular expression to do this, or remove the validator. So just to show you how that behaves. So we'll remove that validator, and there we go. So we can click on done, and that is absolutely brilliant. So we've got our primary element defined there as a regular expression. For the character proximity, we can choose how we detect primary and supporting elements within a certain amount of characters. So we can adjust this up and down as needed. I will leave it at the default of 300 characters. And we can choose whether we want this to be anywhere in the document or not. We can select that one, and it obviously will take that proximity away. So we'll put that within the character set. We can also add any supporting elements as well. or a group of elements, and here we can add these as keyword lists or keyword dictionaries or functions or groups. We can have groups of all of these or any of these or not any of these at all. So what we could do potentially here, and this is something we could have done in the primary element, we could select this time a keyword list as a supporting element. And similar principle, we can have a keyword list name ID, a keyword group, keyword case insensitive and case sensitive settings, word match and string match. The easiest way to add this, yet again, is to choose from existing keyword lists that Microsoft very kindly provide, and we can go in here and we can add some other elements. And if we search for UK, once again, we can select some additional supporting elements. So we had mobile number as the first one. Not particularly a great example because this wouldn't relate, but we could put something in like a passport number. But it gives you the idea of how we can add other elements as a supporting element. So just imagine that these relate more to mobile numbers rather than a British passport. It's not the greatest example in the world. So there we go. We can add those in and click on done. So we've got our supporting elements. We can finally add some additional checks, and we have the option to exclude specific values and duplicate characters or prefixes and suffixes. So we can do that if we want to. Let's just see what that looks like for one of these, and we can enter those here as so, separated by commas and so on. So take a look at all these options in terms of creating your regular expressions. So there we go. So we can create our regular expression, and there we go. So that is the pattern that we've got for our sensitive information type. So let's go ahead and click on next. It's grayed out the other confidence level because we've selected that medium confidence level. We click on next, we get a review of our settings and click on create to create. And we're done. So let's click on done. And we should see this in our list now. And do you know what? I have no idea what I called that. So we can sort by entity type here. And if we scroll down, we should be able to spot it in the categories. Actually, no. Publisher is how we do this. And we can see, here we go. This is the ticket. And here is my Peter SIT, my sensitive information type. It's an entity type, and it's published by my tenant name, rather than by Microsoft Corporation. There's another one you can see created by me here as well. And this is when I was creating an exact data match type, an EDM classifier, which I can show you very shortly. But we can go back into this classifier now, and now that it's there, we can get all of the same sort of settings that we saw before. We can have all those feedback settings. We can look at any matched items, see the description from the primary element, etc., etc. So nice and simple, really, to set these up. Very, very briefly before we move on, we'll just very, very briefly create another one just to show you the some of the other pattern settings that you can put in place for the primary elements. So we looked at regular expression, we looked at keyword lists. We can also add keyword dictionaries. And what you can do here is you can choose from existing dictionaries or upload a dictionary of your own in the form of a text file or a CSV file. But again, when choosing from dictionaries, there are some options that you can include from Microsoft. So we can choose from these 4 options here and go through the same sort of settings for character proximity, set our supporting elements. remembering, of course, that the confidence level is driven very much in relation to how you configure these additional elements. So the more supporting elements you have, you're going to set that to a higher confidence level. So that's cool. So that's dictionary, keyword dictionary rather. And the final one is functions. And then functions are used to find text that is formatted in a specific way. For example, func_credit_card looks for 14 to 16 digit credit card numbers that can be formatted or unformatted and which must pass the Lund test. And we can choose our functions here from the list that is included. And we can see that we can select by country again here. Let's pick a different country for a change. I feel I'm being very biased to my own country, the United Kingdom. Let's choose func_Canadian_SIN and add that in. And we can choose that. And we can use that as our primary element as well. Choose our character proximity, our supporting elements, etc., etc. Amazing. So that will cancel out of, and that gives you an idea of what sensitive info types are all about. Now, there is another option here to create fingerprint-based sensitive information types. So we could just call this FP, just for the sake of demonstrating. And then what you need to do here is to upload a file to create a fingerprint for the file. And fingerprint-based SITs are based on the fingerprint of a file. So you need to upload the file for which you would like to create a fingerprint. So what I will try to do is I'll try and find some links to content in Learn that references this a bit more, so you can get a bit of an idea about what you would need in this document, because I don't have one to hand at the moment and I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole on that. We could come back to that and cover it in a separate video in the future. So now, in terms of the MS 102 exam, sensitive info types are all that are mentioned in the exam study guide outline. However, within classifiers here, there are also two other entries. There are trainable classifiers and exact data match classifiers. I think it's good to have some awareness and some knowledge on what these are, how they work. And all three of these things, it's important to point out that none of these things on their own do anything. They are all things that are created and then added into other actual services within Purview. They are things that information protection and data loss prevention will link to and use as references to process what they need to do. But let's take a quick look at trainable classifiers. And here, now you'll see I have a message here, a little green check mark, which says we are done generating analytics that will allow you to create and test trainable classifiers. And when you launch this for the first time in your tenant, you will find that you have to click a button which says to run analytics for the first time. Now that can take several hours, maybe even 24 hours. So you need to let that run and complete and check back before you can get to this stage and actually start using them in your organization. We have 93 published trainable classifiers ready to use here. At the moment, we can create our own, and we can use built-in or custom classifiers to identify specific categories of content based on existing items in your organization. And once created, classifiers can be used in several compliance solutions to detect related content and classify it. Let's have that lovely learn more, and we shall add that for your reference in the description. And let's take a look at some of these. They're all ready to use at the moment. They're all built in. They're all at the moment in the English language, and we can see some created statistics and last modified statistics. And there are things in here that are used across many features within Microsoft Purview. For example, the offensive language one is something that could be used by communication compliance, which is a feature of Purview. So, and if we take a look at some of these, if we click onto them, we can see what they're going to do. So, description here of this trainable classifier detects text which contains common profanities, slurs, taunts, and disguised expressions. It's even giving us some guides about where we can use this. So this is awesome. And as predicted, communication compliance is one of these applicable locations. Use this classifier to detect matching content in communication compliance policies. We can also use it in data lifecycle management to automatically classify content and apply retention labels to items which match this classifier. And we can use it in information protection to classify, recommend, or automatically label items opened in Office applications. So really good detail on what we can do with these classifiers, and we can see any matched items, if there are any, and we have the feedback tab there again. We can even test the trainable classifier as well, so we can upload a file. We could upload a file in this case with some profanity included in a Word document, and I'm sure that would generate a positive result. So you could have some fun with that, but there you go. There you go. So that's the sort of thing that you can do with trainable classifiers, and these are things that learn as they go. So, and you can create your own. So we could put call it TC, trainable classifiers, not Topcat. Click on next, and here to create the classifier we need to provide some seed content that is related to the category that you want to classify. Microsoft are then going to process that content to identify similarities. So supported content includes Office docs such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, PDFs, text files, etc., etc. So it's recommended to choose specific sites, specific folders even for each site, so that they can seed the classifier with files that are most related to the type of content you want to classify. So here you can add in the URLs of SharePoint sites where you want to build that trainable classifier from. So you can customize if need be. Again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds with trainable classifiers, but I just want you to have an awareness of it and understand what they do. So a very, very quick look at trainable classifiers and the fact that you can create your own custom ones if needed. So we'll just quickly cancel out of that. And finally, exact data match classifiers. Now, there are two experiences here for exact data match. There's a new one and an old one. So I've got the new one toggled to on. Why are there two experiences? Well, we can open this link and we can find out. I'll put it in the description for you. But exact data match classifiers use exact values from your org's data to detect matches instead of generic patterns. And they can be used in several compliance solutions to classify and protect sensitive data. So I've already created one here, which after I've created is available as a sensitive information type. So this is a national insurance classifier that I created. And if we go into it, we can see what this is going to do. Let's take a little look. So national insurance classifier. When you create this, you're actually creating an EDM schema as well. And it gives it a schema name, which is very important to know, because there are some additional steps that you need to take when creating your EDM classifier and schema. Then we have the sensitive info types for primary elements, some schema file column settings, and detection rules as well. So here what we can do is we can edit the EDM sensitive info type, so we can go in and actually edit what it's doing. So let's take a look. And this is what I would have seen when I created this. So I put in the name, I put in my very brief description, always put a better description in than I have put there. And we have an option of how we want to define the schema of the exact data match. So what I did here was I uploaded a file containing some sample data. And this is the quickest and easiest way to do this. Or you can manually define your data structure where you will have to name the fields, choose which sensitive info types best match them. So two methods there. And Microsoft do provide some very useful sample files which you can use as your template. So in fact, what we'll briefly do is if I go into one of the sensitive information, this may be the one, in fact, create custom sensitive information type. No, it's not that one. It's exact data match sensitive information type. And in here, it tells you all about the workflow that you need to go through this process. So first of all, you need to export source data for your exact data match, create a sample file, and create exact data match sensitive information type. Then you have to hash and upload the sensitive information source table for exact data match sensitive information types, and then test an exact data match sensitive information types. There are 5 steps to this, and it's fairly easy to follow, and you can go through this process, and I've got all these which I will include here. So first of all, export the source data, and in one of these here we go. Here are the sample file templates, so you can download these and you can customize them to your needs. So Microsoft have provided 3 examples here containing healthcare data, financial data, US insurance data. These are CSV files that you can tweak to your needs, and then go through the process of after you've exported those, you can then start creating your sample file and uploading them into the wizard to create. So what I may do is I may do a specific video on this process, because it's quite detailed, it's quite involved. The process of uploading the sample information file, you have to do some of this using command line and PowerShell. So I don't, again, want to get too much into the weeds in this video, because I want to keep it quite high level and relating to the exam guide. And as I said, I'm not even really certain if EDM and trainable classifiers come up in the exam yet. If any of you are watching who've taken the exam, and I know that some of you who have reached out to me on LinkedIn have said that you have, it would be very interesting to know if EDM and trainable classifiers are actually part of the exam, because I've not taken the exam yet, and I don't know if I will. But the reason why is I actually don't need to, because having taken MS 101 and MS 100 in conjunction with MS 500, that gets you the 3-star expert certification of Microsoft Certified Enterprise Administrator Expert. Now, when you take your renewal process, as you have to do on a yearly basis, when I come to do mine, it will realign with the new certification path. So there's actually no need for me to do 102. I'm sort of tempted to do it in a way, just to see what it's all about, but that would probably be very redundant. But anyway, I digress. So use that sample data. It's fairly easy to follow and tweak as you need to, and then you can verify even that your sample data is correct, and we can see the column names that are that are in the sample file here. So we have social security number there, account ID, first name, last name, driver's license. We can look at the primary elements that were in here and let the classifier know which columns contain the main data that you want to detect. And as you're going through this, it's going to give you a very, very clear guide in terms of which of these it thinks are relevant to what you're trying to do. So follow along with that and go through. And then you can configure the settings for data in the selected columns. You can use the same settings for all the columns. You can choose whether the data in the columns are case insensitive. You can expand out to get some more settings if you want to ignore delimiters and punctuation data. You can choose that and then choose the settings you want in there for these selections. But I didn't want to do that, so I think this is something that you will very much find is a niche, a very niche requirement, and will depend on the individual organization's needs in terms of what you need to configure. So, and then configure detection rules for the primary elements, so we can detect the supporting elements within number of characters again, which I left as 300, and then we see our primary element there and the confidence level, and it was quite simple to do that. So try and follow that process through if you want to play with it. It's a little fiddly in places with the PowerShell, and I will definitely try to come back to this and do a specific video on exact data match and show you end to end what I did to create that EDM classifier, and then you just submit it. But it's nice and, well, I should never say it's nice and simple, because it may not be to everyone. I say that a lot, and if that frustrates you, I do apologize, because it's not necessarily nice and simple to everyone. And to be honest, I don't really think it is nice and simple. I think it was a little fiddly for me. But I got there with it. So we've got some more links to learning here on how to learn the end-to-end workflow of EDM classifiers, so you could take a look at that. And we've got some more industry-specific sample files here. So in fact, it's not some more, it's the same ones. I was hoping to see some more in there, but it's the same ones that but another convenient place to download them from within the tenant rather than from within the Learn documentation there. So there we go. Right, well, that's just about going to do it for this video. I have to say this is a very dry subject. It's a borderline boring start to this topic of Microsoft Purview, which is why a lot of people probably do find Purview and compliance a little bit dull. I disagree with that. I think Purview is a very, very interesting topic, but there are some parts of it that are, if you like, necessary evils and are not particularly absorbing. But we have got to start with this because that's part one on the study guide. But we've ticked that off now. And what we can do, now we've got this all ready, we understand what it is, we understand what sensitive information types are and the keywords and the keyword lists. We've gone above and beyond as well, and we've looked at exact data match and trainable classifiers as well. In the next video, we can look at some really cool stuff, well, in my opinion anyway, but some of my fellow compliance MVPs would definitely agree that this is cool stuff. Without a doubt. So I'm thinking of Joanne, I'm thinking of Ryan, I'm thinking of Nikki. You know who you are. And if I've missed any obvious names of Raphael, all you great folks, all you compliance family are going to surely agree that this is really cool stuff. And sensitivity labels and sensitivity label policies. So the next in the series will be all about retention labels. And then the next one after that, sensitivity labels. So let's put this one to bed. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me in that video. Some pretty dry stuff in that one, I have to admit. Not the most absorbing and interesting topic, sensitive information types, regexes, dictionary keywords, and that sort of thing. So, but all very, very necessary when it comes to using the more exciting features of Microsoft Purview, information protection and data lifecycle management. So stick with me on this. This is absolutely cool stuff. So I am going to leave it there, and we'll be back with another video very, very soon. I do appreciate your support. Please do keep hitting that subscribe button. Please like and share, and I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.